Hi, my name is Madison McCoy, and my project is based on the divides between Africans and African Americans, specifically here on campus. I feel like to people who aren't African or African Americans, we all might just seem as one big group of people, but I really wanted to highlight the difference between the two and show that we are coming together as time goes on, and just the different opinions between this generation of African and African Americans about the relationships and if they are possible and if they could be stable and healthy.
All right, so introduce yourself, please.
My name is Sarah Esther Adejokin. I am Nigerian American, and to be more specific, I am Yoruba.
Period. Okay, so my very first question for you is: could you ever see yourself hooking up, just a simple hookup, with somebody who is African American?
Yes.
Okay, and would you actually date them, take them seriously?
I think it would have to depend. It depends on who the person is,
Okay.
But I can see myself
In a relationship.
Yeah.
And do you see yourself actually taking them home with you to your parents and introducing you to your parents?
No,
Can you
not.
go into detail
It
about
has
that?
to be very. I have to know. If they're Nigerian American or Nigerian, it's much easier because my parents are literally from Nigeria, so they will have more of a connection.
Right.
But if they are African American, that is
Different culture.
Yes, especially since they come from Nigeria and they do have a lot of stereotypes of what the black people here in America are like. So they would have to be very proper and
So do you think the stereotypes of the African Americans is a complete no-go for your parents or your family in general?
I think that, yeah, it would take a lot of convincing. I know that if my parents see that I actually love the person, then they'll try and do a little bit of changing. But for the most part, it's really as a first perspective of that person, that's a
No.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. And do you think that African Americans marrying Africans will become normalized as the years go on? Or do you see it as being I'm only sticking with people in my culture?
So this is a little bit hard to answer because there is a divide. There's definitely a divide. We can definitely agree on that. And when Africans do come from their homeland to America, they try to find people who are just like them so they can fit in.
Right.
And so they can, connect with someone that can actually relate to them. So honestly, if Africans really married a lot, if it was an ongoing thing, then yes. But for now, it's looking like a no.
It's looking like a no.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. All right, so right now I'm here with
Alex, I'm in Nigeria.
All right, so do you see yourself ever having a one-night stand with an African American girl?
Definitely.
And could you ever see yourself being in a full relationship with an African American girl?
It depends on how much I like the girl, but yeah, I'm in a relationship with an African American girl. So.
And would you let this same African American girl come home to meet your parents?
I feel personally, my parents, they're not as how do I put this?
Accepting?
Yeah, as other. Wait, they are more accepting than most Nigerian parents.
So when you see yourself bringing home a girl to your parents, what do you see that girl being?
If I ever get to the stage where I have to bring a girl back to my parents, then it's probably going to be serious.
And do you see her ever being African American, or do you only see yourself confidently bringing an African girl home?
I could bring an African American girl back to my parents.
Would you have to have her to a higher standard? Would she have to have more accomplishments? Do you need to have her be quote unquote better than an African girl because she's not the same culture as you?
First of all, she has to be Christian because if she's not, it's gonna be a problem. I know there's a lot of African American girls that are Christians. Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that Africans marrying African Americans will become more normalized as time goes on, or do you think there will always be some type of divide between the two because of the culture difference?
It's gonna get better over time.
Okay.
Because there's more Africans coming into the U.S.
And do you yourself ever see yourself marrying an African American girl?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. All right, so next up we have,
Moody and I'm Nigerian.
all right, and do you see yourself having a one-night stand with an African American girl?
Yeah,
And can you ever see yourself being in a relationship with an African American girl?
probably.
And do you think it would ever get to that level where you could bring her back to your parents?
It depends on the girl actually, because my parents want me obviously to marry a Yoruba girl, but I mean I'm an only child, so they have to take what they can get.
And would you would you hold the African American girl to a higher standard rather than a Yoruba girl?
They both have the same standard. Expect her to like adapt to my culture, because there are some things that she just has to learn.
Okay. And do you see yourself possibly marrying an African American girl?
That's a big if. Probably not. It's 50-50.
Do you think your parents would be accepting of the fact that you're marrying an African American girl?
Yeah.
But they would prefer.
You're right, yeah.
Okay, okay. And do you think that African Americans marrying Africans will be more normalized because there's so many Africans coming to America?
Yeah, eventually, because everybody's marrying everybody at this point, so.
Thank you.
What's the point?
Go.
All right, so next up I'm here with
Wami, and I'm Nigerian.
Wami. Do you ever see yourself hooking up with an African American?
I would.
And do you see yourself being in a relationship with an African American guy?
Like, I feel like I could mess with an African American guy, but like, ultimately, like, I would never, like, it could never just, like, advance.
So you
too
don't
far.
think it would get to the level of like meeting your parents?
Never.
Never. And can you tell me the reason for that?
Because, like, the thing is, like, at the end of the day, like, I know that I'm not gonna end up with him, so, like,
And why can't you marry an African American man?
it's just because, like, our, like, cultures are just too far. We have two different cultural backgrounds. Like, I wouldn't even marry someone outside my tribe,
And your tribe is?
Yoruba.
Alright, so you don't see yourself marrying either one.
I don't.
Okay.
It's not even I don't. I won't.
We don't want you to
And do you think Africans marrying African Americans will ever be normalized?
Yeah,
Do you think it'll be in our lifetime or do you think it's going to be later on?
in our lifetime, like, I know a lot of African American African couples.
Okay.
Not
But
in
you-
my family, but somewhere else.
Action.
Alright, next up we have,
Trey Pugh, and I'm African American.
and do you ever see yourself hooking up with an African girl?
I mean, yeah, there's no reason not to, really. So
So if she's cute and she's African, you good?
if I like her, yeah.
Okay. And do you see yourself being in like a serious relationship with an African girl?
I mean, yeah, I see myself in a serious relationship with anybody that I like.
Okay, no matter like the culture difference, racial difference. Okay. And do you see you bringing an African girl home to your parents and having them meet each other and everything? You go with that?
Yeah.
And how about marriage? You see yourself marrying an African girl? And do you have any fear of y'all's kids like disconnecting with their African American side or African side?
I mean, not really. If you raise them right, there really shouldn't be like any problem.
Okay. And do you think that Africans marrying African Americans will be more normalized as time goes on, or do you think there'll always be like a slight divide between the two?
I feel like it'll be normalized because the way it's going on right now, it's starting to like you already see it starting to become more of a normal thing than it used to be. So.
Hi, I'm Wami, and today I'm with.
Madison McCoy, and I'm African American.
So, Madison, would you hook up with an African man?
I personally don't do like casual sex, so I don't really see myself like connecting with the African man and then having sex with him.
So you don't believe in hookup culture?
I personally don't partake in hookup culture.
Date an African man.
Based off of like my past experience and like the culture gaps and stuff, I think I'm okay on the Africans.
So you would like never take an African man to meet your parents?
I would have to be like so in love and delusional over him, but like I don't see myself bringing an African man home to my parents.
What do you mean you can never like genuinely be in love with an African man?
I'm not saying I couldn't. I'm saying I don't see myself being genuinely in love with an African man.
Could you see yourself marrying an African man?
I don't see myself marrying an African man. If it happens, obviously, like, that's cool. But, like, just based off of, like, the culture differences, I don't see how, like, stable that relationship would be.
You think like you have too many culture gaps?
I feel like, yeah, like especially with like I have friends who are African. I've met their parents, and I definitely like I see what they expect their like child to bring home and their partner and everything, and I know I can't bring to the table what they're expecting, so I don't see that happening.
So do you think like African American and African marriages will be normalized?
Definitely, like I'm seeing it now. I already have friends that have African dads for African American moms, so like it's definitely gonna be a thing we see more often. I think back then it was always seen as like two completely different groups of people who were like always going against each other. But I think now that more Africans are coming to America and like generation wise,